we have this new leader, and now he brings us right to the brink of this river that there's no way that we're going to pass. How much longer are we going to have to stay here in the desert before we get to take what God has promised? This has got to be what the people are thinking. The reason that I tell you all of those details about this river is because I just want to make sure that we don't come in here today and you hear me or you read the scriptures and you think, man, that's a neat story. It's not just a neat story, y'all. This is real. Like, I want you to understand the significance about what you're about to see God do. I want you to understand the reality of what God is about to do, that he is about to make the impossible possible for his people that he has made a promise to. He's about to make the impossible possible. And look, guys, here's what I know, is that for some of you, you have had times in your life where the circumstances or the situations surrounding your life where you couldn't see to the other side. You felt like the obstacles in front of you were too big. They were too scary, that it was going to be impossible for you to make it through. And some of you seventh graders may not know anything like that, and that's okay. But can I just tell you that at some point in your life, you will come across a situation where you will have that feeling like there's no way that I can make it through this. Some of you may have come in today feeling like that. Guys, this is where we just have to, we have to be students of the scriptures. We've got to press in to Psalm 121 where it says, our help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. We just got to press in and call out these promises that what Jesus tells the people that are listening to him preach, to his disciples. What he says in Matthew 19, where he says, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. These are the things that we've got to keep coming back to, y'all. We got to keep coming back to Joshua 3 and 4. That when life starts to get really tough, when it seems like there's no way out and there's no way that you can do it, here's what I need you to hear me say. God can. He can see you through to the other side. So with that being said, I just want to start off my 2 points with this simple statement of when things seem impossible. And the 2 things that I want us to see throughout these chapters is the first, when things seem impossible, we have to remember that God has promised to be with his people. That's what we'll see in chapter 3, that God has promised to be with his people. And in chapter 4, we're going to see that when things are impossible, we have to remember what he's already done. So those are our 2 kind of headings. I'm not going to read all of the chapters and all the verses this week, but I do want you just to look at chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to get a real good sense of how this story sets up, how this miracle sets up, but also we're going to be reminded that God has promised to be with his people. Look with me at verses 1 through 6. God's word says this, then Joshua rose early in the morning, and they set out from Shittim, and they came to the Jordan, he and all the people of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. At the end of 3 days, the officers went through the camp and commanded the people, as soon as you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God being carried by the Levitical priests, then you shall set out from your place and follow it. Yet there shall be a distance between you and it, about 2,000 cubits in length. Do not come near it, in order that you may know the way you shall go, for you have not passed this way before. Then Joshua said to the people, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And Joshua said to the priests, take up the ark of the covenant and pass on before the people. So they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. So, like I said, when things seem impossible, what we have to remember, y'all, is that God has promised to be with his people. The first way that we see this is through the mention of the Ark of the Covenant. So if you're not familiar with that language, this has been talked about a lot within the history of Israel, the Ark of the Covenant. And this would have been a box, probably, I kind of measured it today. It would have been about the size of kind of the under part of the podium here, about the same. It's like 3 feet 9 inches long and by 2 feet 9 inches wide and deep. All right, so it's literally about this size right here. So not huge. And it would have been covered in gold on the inside and the outside. There would have been some real ornate things coming off the sides here. And there would have been rings on the side of it where they would have stuck poles so that the Levitical priests that we just read about could carry this as the nation of Israel traveled. And so what Joshua just told them is, hey, the priests are going to pick up the Ark of the Covenant and they're going to walk through the camp. And as they walk through the camp, I want everyone to take notice. And as they start to walk, I want the Ark to get ahead of us, and then I want you to follow. Here's what's interesting, is that the Ark of the Covenant was going to represent or symbolize God's presence with his people all throughout the Old Testament here. And so what's interesting is that in chapters 3 and 4, the Ark of the Covenant is mentioned 17 times. 17 times in 2 chapters, God's presence amongst his people is mentioned. It's almost as though Joshua didn't want you to forget that God was with his people, that he had not left them. He hadn't left them in the desert. He was with them in the desert. And he was going to be with them as they were about to do what they're about to do. And he was going to be with them as they got to the other side. That no matter the situation, God hadn't left his people. This should be good news to you and me. I mean, it's the same, it's like an echo of what we hear out of the mouth of Jesus. I will not leave you or forsake you, is what he tells his disciples as he's about to leave them and go to the cross. He promises he's always going to be with them. That promise is true for you and I, just as it was for the disciples, just as it was for the nation of Israel. The other thing I want you to see in verses 3 and 4 is that it's interesting that he mentions that they need to follow the priests. Did you notice that? He didn't say like, hey, walk next to the ark. Like, be close to the ark, be close to the presence of God. He didn't say that. He actually says, I want you to follow at a distance so that you can see what God's about to do. Now, he mentions this at 2,000 cubits. That's pretty far off, all right? And it's almost as though he's saying like, here's the thing, is that I need you to stand far enough back that you can take in all that God is about to do. Because if you're too close, you're going to miss some of it. That it's actually going to be mind-blowing, and you're not going to be able to take it all in unless you're far enough back. This will make more sense here in a minute. But have you ever stood like at the base of a mountain or like right next to the ocean, and you're like, man, this is big, or like, wow, that's a lot of water. But then if you've ever like looked at telescopic photos of the oceans from space, you're like, that's a lot of water. It's like not until you back up do you get the scope and the size of just how grand the ocean is or how big the mountain ranges are. And it's kind of the same way with what God's about to do. He wants to make sure that no one misses the miracle that he is about to perform. I think the other thing that's interesting with this is that what's about to happen is going to be all the work of God. Like God's going to do all the work that we're going to see here in just a minute. But the people still have to participate in what God's doing. Did you notice that? God's going to go first, but the people are still commanded to follow. Not just sit back and watch, but rather get up and follow what God's doing. And this is going to be really important because, I mean, here's the trouble. is that I think somewhere, for some reason within our culture, a lot of people think that, man, I got saved, and so now I'm good. I'm going to heaven, so now I just get to sit back and just kind of like watch the world unfold in front of me. I get to just kind of like do whatever I want to because I'm covered in the grace of God. Can I just tell you, like, that's not how this life of following Christ works. That yes, God does the work of salvation through Jesus, but there's still this activity that you're expected to participate in. That he's going to do work in your life, but he's expecting you to be responsible for your actions. Remember last year we talked about this phrase, dependent responsibility. We're dependent on God to do the work, but we're also holding ourselves responsible to walk in obedience, to walk in faith to the things that he's doing. We'll see more examples of this, but I just want to highlight this right here, is that God's about to do something, but the people are still going to have to be a part of it. They're still going to be expected to follow him in obedience. And then later on, God's going to win the battles that they fight. But guess what? The people still had to draw the swords. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get to sleep in at camp and just like watch God annihilate everybody. No, they're going to have to actually get in the fight, but God's going to win the battle. Does this make sense? That there's this active participation for those who follow Christ. We don't get to just sit back and just let things happen. He's going to do the work, but we're going to engage in it as well. The last thing that I want to make mention of within these first 6 verses is in verse 5. Look at it with me. It says, "Then Joshua said to the people, 'Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you.'" Consecrate yourselves, for the Lord will do wonders among you. I just wrote this quote in my notes. I wrote, "Preparation leads to greater appreciation." That preparation leads to greater appreciation. It's like the people have been warned that God's about to do something that's going to blow their minds. But he says, but before he does, you better get ready. So that you can fully accept it. You can like enjoy everything the Lord's about to do on your behalf for you. These wondrous works, I don't want you to miss them, so get ready. Can I just be honest? Like I keep reading this verse, and like all week it's like bothered me. Some of that is like it's bothered me because it's convicted my own heart. Because here's what I know to be true is that that before lunch on Thanksgiving, I'm not scared to prepare myself by missing a couple of meals before that happens. You know what I mean? Like if you know you're about to go out to a really nice restaurant and eat where the food is amazing and you know you love it, you're probably going to go hungry for a couple of hours beforehand so that you can enjoy everything that you're going to sit down in front of. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's this for you. Maybe you know that you've bought tickets, you're going to go to a concert of your favorite musical artist, right? And so what do? Well, you prepare for the concert. You put on the right clothes, and then chances, if you're like me, you do this. You start to listen to all their music and try to memorize all their words so that you can sing along and completely enjoy the experience of the concert. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's movies for you. You can't wait for the sequel to come out. You can't wait to sit in the theaters and be the first one to see the sequel. But before you do that, you know what you do? You go back and you watch part 1 and part 2 before you go to the next one. Right? Why? Why do we do this? Because we love to prepare ourselves so that we can fully enjoy what we're about to step into. This is all that Joshua is saying. Guys, prepare your hearts for what's about to happen. And this is why it's bothered me this week. Because I just wonder how many of you are like me and don't prepare your heart the right way to worship the Lord. Whether that be on Sunday mornings or Wednesday nights. I don't want us to miss like the joy, just the unreal privilege that it is for us to gather like this. That it's no small feat when the people of God get to come together and worship him. To get to gather together and be in his presence in the middle of our weeks or at the beginning of our weeks on a Sunday. Like, that's no small feat. And guys, we get to do it without threat of persecution or harm. Like, we just get to enjoy it. And the reason this has been such a difficult verse for me this week is like, I don't know that I do a good job of preparing my heart to get ready to enjoy Wednesday night the way that I should. To enjoy being in his presence, to fully engage and worship him with you guys. I don't know that I do a good job of that. I don't know that I do a good job of preparing my own heart and mind for walking into church on a Sunday, to literally give him everything, to worship him the way that he deserves to be worshiped. But I bet I'm not the only one. And what I just want to encourage you with is, with those examples I just gave you, man, if you're willing to miss a couple of meals to enjoy a big one, man, just think about what church could look like for you. What Wednesday nights could look like for you. What Sunday mornings could look like for you. If you would take some time and just prepare your heart to fully grasp and experience the blessing that these times like this are. Like, that's the challenge. That's how it's hit me this week. I don't know how it hits you, but it hits me hard. And like, I want to do a better job of it because I don't want to miss it, y'all. Like, I don't want to miss the opportunity that I get. I know you're like, but it just comes every week. But it doesn't matter. Like, the amount of times that it happens, we shouldn't grow numb to that. Like, it should just increase our joy that we have even more opportunities. It's like Christmas happening every single day. Like, every morning being Christmas morning. You're like, that'd get old. No, it wouldn't. You'd open presents every morning. It'd be amazing. I don't know. For me, like, I want to do a better job of it. I want to prepare my heart because I don't want to miss it. So what is it that Joshua has told them to prepare their hearts for? What is this wondrous work that is about to happen? Well, look with me at verse 10. Verses 10 through 16, we'll get a clear glimpse into exactly what the Lord is about to do. Verse 10 says, "And Joshua said, 'Here's how you shall know that the living God is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth is passing over before you into the Jordan. Now, therefore, take 12 men from the tribes of Israel, from each tribe a man. And when the soles of the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from flowing. And the waters coming down from above shall stand in one heap.' So when the people set out from their tents to pass over the Jordan with the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as soon as those bearing the ark had come as far as the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the brink of the water." Now here's this weird break, right? Like, you feel the suspense. It's like, what's about to happen? And he's like, "Oh, by the way, now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout all time of harvest." And then he picks right back up. "The waters coming down from above stood and rose up in a heap very far away at Adam." That's like 25 kilometers, by the way, from where they're at. "And the city that is beside Zarethan and those flowing down from the sea of Arabah, the salt sea, were completely cut off. And the people passed over opposite of Jericho." That's the wonder he didn't want them to miss. I know you're like, but he's already done this before. Like, it's like seeing the same magic trick twice. This ain't magic, y'all. God literally took a raging river and stopped it and allowed some 3 million people to cross over on dry land. And not just a river 100 feet wide, a mile wide, y'all. That same river that is usually 5 to 7 feet deep, at the time of harvest is probably closer to like 10 to 12 feet deep. You can't swim across it. Nobody's walking through it. Only way for them to get across it was going to be for God to do something amazing. And what I love about these 6 verses is that it's just this proof. It's like God is just proving to them that surely the same God that has the power to stop the water so that they may cross the river is the same God who has the power to give them the land and take it from the people who are currently residing there. Like, it's nothing for him. It's literally nothing. And it's just really cool to me. It's like these if-then statements. It's like if he can stop the water, then he can surely give you the land. If you can walk across dry ground, then you'll surely defeat them in battle. Why? Because the Lord is on your side. Here's my last if then. If God makes a promise, then he is sure to keep it. This is proof right here. He doesn't just make them, he keeps every single one of them. So let's keep going. What else? When things seem impossible, what else do we have to remember? We have to remember of all the things that he's already done. This is chapter 4. In fact, look with me at chapter 4, verses 5 and 7. As these people were crossing, Joshua was given some instructions. It says, and Joshua said to them, pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. It's like, God's like, this is so big, Joshua, I don't want you to forget it. I don't want any of these people to forget it. I don't want your kids or your grandkids to forget it. In fact, I read this week just a quote that you may want to write down because I think it's helpful. The quote was short and it goes like this: the greatest enemy of our faith may be our forgetfulness. The greatest enemy of our faith may be our forgetfulness. Like, just think about that for a minute. We are a forgetful people. Like, you think about how many times in your life, like, there's been a big moment, like something that in the moment you're like, this is huge. Like, whether it's a big game that you were involved in, or like a big contest, or like a big test. I don't know what it could have been, but like something you're like, man, I'm going to remember this moment forever. Do you remember any of the details of it? Like, if it happened more than a year ago, do you remember it at all? It's like it's this weird thing to where, like, we think things are huge in the moment, but we're so quick to forget them. And what God's saying, he's like, man, I don't want this to be just another thing. Like, it's just another miracle. I know you've heard all the miracles that I did when your ancestors were in Egypt, and now here's just another one. He's like, the reason that those generations before you passed is because they forgot. Don't forget. In fact, I want you to build these memorials so that when people ask, what are those rocks over there? What, like, that's weird how they're just stacked up, like 12 of them just stacked right over there. Like, why does that look like that? Well, let me tell you a story. You see, this one time, God just stopped it all. And there was just this mountain of water, and we all just walked across it. Like, can you imagine trying to tell that story to your kids? Can you imagine just telling that story around the dinner table? God's doing these amazing things. Did you know that we have things like this that we do that people have been doing in church history for a very long time? One of these practices of remembering is called the Lord's Supper. We do it once a month on the first Sunday of every month here at the Trails. We participate in the Lord's Supper. Why do we do that? We do that so we don't forget, so that we will remember what Christ has done on the cross. The price that was paid for your redemption, for your salvation, what Jesus did on the cross. We can't forget it. This is why, guys, I tell you guys all the time, like, we got to be preaching the gospel to ourselves every single day. Why do I say that? Why do I keep saying it? Because one, if I don't keep saying it, you'll forget it. I'll forget it. And if we don't do it, then we'll forget it. And it's too important. It's too important to not keep reminding ourselves of. We got to keep talking about these things that are so central to our faith. And this is all that God's telling these people. He says, I don't want you to forget. Please remember. But then it doesn't just stay with remember. He actually says, I want you to teach people about it. I want you to share what God has done to other people so that other people might know. In fact, just look at verses 19 through 24. And I'm just going to wrap myself out for just a second. I just want you to know the way you guys talk is completely rotting my brain. Like, even in my notes, do you want to know what my notes say? I mean, the leaders can literally back me up. This is how I wrote my notes in my outline. Like, I don't write like every word that I'm going to say like some people do. Like, I just have an outline that's just generally like, here's the direction you need to go. This is literally what I wrote. Joshua 4:21 through 24. Let Joshua cook to close this chapter. Literally, it just says, let Joshua cook. And it's, guys, it's so crazy, man, because I don't want you to miss, this is not a fictional narrative. This is absolute real life, y'all. They have just literally walked across a mile of dry ground with a mountain, a wall of water standing up on one side. They put their feet on the other side. You got to know that Joshua is hype. Like, he's fired up. You know why? Because earlier in chapter 3, God said, you know what? I'm going to prove to these people that you're my guy. And here in chapter 4, he's led these people across this water. They've placed their feet on this land that God has promised them for generations. All these years, and it's finally here. And he's like, you know what? God made us a promise, but he also made me a promise. And now in the sight of Israel, they're going to worship Joshua or follow Joshua the same as they did Moses. But now he's so fired up at the end. I mean, I'll read it as fired up as I can get, okay? I don't know if I can do it justice, but we'll see what I can do. Joshua chapter 4, verse 19 through 24. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. God, I wish I could talk about that, but I don't have time. And they encamped at Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones, which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up at Gilgal. And he said to the people of Israel, remember, he's hype, man. Like, the promise that has been promised has finally been fulfilled. And he looks at the people and he says, when your children ask their fathers in times to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know, Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over. As the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over. Why? So that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may fear the Lord your God forever. It's like his first kind of opportunity to stand up and start preaching. And he basically just says here's what we have to remember. We have to remember what God has done for us, what he's going to continue to do among us, in front of us, around us, inside us. And then we got to let others know. Let everybody know. That's what he said. He says, as he gives us this land, let's live in a way that everybody hears about the mightiness of our God, that everyone hears about who this God is of ours. I mean, he's pumped. So then, I just started writing questions. I was like, man, what are some of the markers of faith in my life? What are some of these things that, I want to be telling my kids and my grandkids? What are the things, the markers of faith, the memorials in your life that have made such an imprint where God has just showed up and shown off? What are these things that you're going to be telling stories about? Well, listen, if you're in Christ, you have a testimony. You have something significant. You have a parting of the Jordan River kind of story to tell people. You hear me? This is where you get to follow the Lord and what he's done and share with other people so they might know how mighty he is, how great your God is. And everyone that's in Christ has this story to share. One last thing. I know I'm already over and I could just keep going. But one last thing, okay? Verses 13 and 15 of chapter 3. Let me just read you verse 13. And when the soles of the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from flowing, and the waters coming down from above shall stand in one heap. I just want to make one mention here, is that these men who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant, notice it didn't say, as you get close, the waters will stand up. It didn't say, if you pray real hard, the waters will stand up. What it actually says is that as your feet go into this raging river, then the waters will stand up. And I just want to make a point. I just want you to hear me say this, is that sometimes, we've got to just put our feet in the water. And this is where I think this command that God has given Joshua to be strong and courageous, this is where it gets its legs, no pun intended. All right? This is where we've got to move. We've got to take what God has given us. If he's given you a testimony, then you need to start sharing it with people. You need to start telling people. And maybe that means that's uncomfortable for you, but guess what? Sometimes you got to put your feet in the water to watch him work. Sometimes you've got to engage in an uncomfortable situation, one that may seem risky. I'm not saying go do risky things or go do dangerous things, but I'm saying sometimes when we're following the Lord's commands, when we're obeying his voice, we've got to take action and then just take a look and watch him go to work. To obey the things that he's already commanded us to do, like he did here. Tell everybody. Tell them all. Fill this room. Let them hear the good news of Jesus, who came to save sinners. This is the news that we have to share. This is how we put feet to our faith, as Rahab did. This is the challenge that I'm issuing to you guys. To obey the Lord. Put your feet in the water. To be a part of the work that he's doing. Don't just live passively, but to live strong and courageously in a world that needs you to live strong and courageously. Your friends that don't know Jesus need you to live strong and courageously. They need to hear your story. So maybe by God's grace, they may have one of their own someday. Let me pray for you. I got to get you into small groups. I love you guys. Let me pray. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for the realness of Joshua 3 and 4. I'm still in shock. I just, it's so hard to believe. But God, I just want to reaffirm what Jesus said in Matthew, that with man, it's impossible. But with you, all things are possible. God, would you help just remind our hearts that when we are afraid or when obstacles or circumstances arise that feel bigger than us or impossible for us to navigate through or around, or we're just not sure if we'll ever see the light at the end of the tunnel, God, would you just remind us of this story that once there was people who couldn't see a way over or around the river, but God, you made a way and they just followed you. So God, would you help our hearts to remember that you're always with us, that you're with us in the midst of every impossible situation, and that you've made a way before. And so help us just to cling to the promises, knowing full well that you keep every one of them. We love you. It's in your name that we pray, Jesus. Amen.